What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, CEO, MTS Nutrition. This Shawn Rhoden thing, it's not looking good for Shawn. Whether guilty or innocent, American media has immediately pulled all ties, suspended him from competing and defending his Mr. Olympia title at the 2019 Olympia, and unless exonerated, have completely banned him from all Olympia competitions in the future. American media is also removing all ads and likenesses of Shawn Rhoden and all they do. So this brings up a question I wanted to address, and I get this all the time because I really don't have sponsored athletes. We have Andrew Hubbard, we have Kate Ann. Those are all great individuals. They're not professional bodybuilders, and the brand is not built around them. Now, there has been success building brands around bodybuilders. For example, in the 90s and early 2000s, ProLab built Enlarge 2, which was a weight gainer around Lee Priest, a very successful movement. When Redcon started, they had Dallas McCarver as their main face, the brand, so to speak, and they were able to kind of parlay on his success and his personality. But there's also a huge risk that comes from that. Now, what I do is we do have affiliates for MTS Nutrition, and we have athletes. Those athletes are mainly out there representing the brand. They don't have huge social media followings, but you're not going to look at them and say, hey, that's Andrew, he is MTS Nutrition. No, Andrew represents MTS Nutrition. Great guy, veteran, Marine veteran, he's getting married in August. The guy's just the greatest guy ever. Kate, very educated, working on her master's degree. We go a little bit different. We don't go the pro bodybuilder, pro athlete route. We go with people who are already fans of the brand and who believe in the message of what we do. We don't just hire someone because they're there. Now, you look at what's happening with Shawn Rhoden. He's already lost AMI, right? That's a huge loss. Huge loss. That's a huge contract, huge loss. All the publicity, all the notoriety, beyond his social media of 1 million plus followers, right? Now, here's another issue. What happens to the brands? Let's get Shawn out of this. Shawn's in a really bad place. Unfortunately, even though it's and I keep saying, guys, give him due process. Although $750,000 bail shows that they think they have a great case and they're afraid they want to keep him in prison. $750K, you have to justify that much of a bail. That's a huge bail, which makes me think they got something, or they think they have a smoking gun on this case. From my rudimentary knowledge of the law. So let's take Shawn out of the picture. And we can only hope and pray that these allegations are false. As someone who knows and who likes Shawn before this, don't say, you like rapists. We have no proof that he did this. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he did. I'm saying all we see is what's on TMZ and what's in the news. What happens to, for example, I went to the Arnold and I saw a new brand I've never seen before called Olymp, O-L-I-M-P. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like an erectile dysfunction thing. I think it's the worst name in the history of bodybuilding. That's besides the point. Oh, limp. Oh, shit, I'm limp. It's really not a tasteful joke in this what's going on. But nonetheless, so Olymp has based their entire brand around Shawn Rhoden. He was their booth. He was their stand at the Arnold. Okay, Olymp is fucked. Olymp is screwed because their entire marketing was based on that dude. Okay, I didn't hear of that brand before, and I don't think they're going to... There has to be investment money or some... Because their booth was a skyscraper. And I mean, we're one of the larger companies in the industry now, but we wouldn't afford that. We could, but we won't. That's just a stupid investment. They're trying to make a splash. They have Mr. Olympia. I'm guessing that was their plan. He's also sponsored by Trifecta. Trifecta is a great brand, but the thing is, he's sponsored by them. He's not the brand. That's fine. So Shawn eats Trifecta meals. They're fine. They were just sending him some meals, maybe giving him some remuneration and money, and he's good to go. It's just a guy, he's sponsored by a company, that's fine. But you build the brand around that individual, they're in a bad spot. Let me give you a little anecdote about a microcosm you guys never heard of that happened to us. We had an affiliate/athlete. Now remember, our athletes aren't representing the brand. They're simply guys, they do demos, they'll go to events here and there, maybe they'll help us out at the Arnold, but we don't build our brand around them, right? It's not like Dallas McCarver was so far entrenched in Redcon. And Lee Priest was so far entrenched in ProLab. These guys are a part of the company, but they aren't the company. So we had a guy who was going through a messy divorce. And in that time, his wife alleged that he was physically abusive. And his wife alleged that he was a little bit ornery towards the children. And this is a guy I know personally, and I was like, this shocked me even more than Shawn. Rhoden. This shocked me because not his demeanor. And long story short, it turned out it was all exonerated. Done. The court was like, this didn't happen, and that's that. In the process, I literally wake up one morning. It's like 5 a.m. I'm getting my emails. I'm getting barraged with Facebook messages, right? It's like, you're a woman beater supporter. You're this, you're that. I will never support your brand again. And I'm like, what the fuck what? And long story short, it was probably about 5 really vocal individuals who were friends of the wife or who followed her on Facebook or whatever, automatically came at me. So I waited till my wife wakes up. My wife wakes up at around 6:40 to get the kids off to school. I'm like, Katie, I need you to read all these DMs. And sure enough, since she is part of the company too, my wife and I, Katie and Marc, are MTS Nutrition, it is what it is. And sure as shit, she's getting bombed by even more because they're women. Like, oh, as a woman, how dare you do this, blah, blah, blah. So I had to call him up. I'm like, dude, I hate doing this, but until further notice, we have to pause your sponsorship. We have to pause what we're doing with you because, man, this is just not looking good on us. And he was really cool. He's like, man, I understand. I completely understand. He wasn't mad. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't salty. He didn't ask for due process. He's like, can I just state my side of the story? I said, please. And we listened to it. And so long story short, about 4 months later, court did its thing. He was awarded joint custody and exonerated of all those charges. Immediately, I called him back, and I'm like, you want back on? I had no choice. But what I'm saying is there's a risk in sponsoring athletes. Now, as far as this is developing, we've seen AMI do their statement. Olymp, and remember this happened on Friday, which is a hard day to get things out. But you have to assume that the owners, operators, I don't know these guys. I don't know who the fuck Olymp is. But they haven't tried selling to Tiger Fitness, so I haven't talked to any of them. Usually I'm the gatekeeper for new brands a lot of the time. But, man, I mean, they're in a shitty place. And that's why I tell people, build your brand around solid products and a solid market position. Don't build your brand around an individual because while it doesn't always happen, it might happen. It might happen. Shawn seemed like a good spokesperson, seemed well-mannered and people respected me, had a very kind and almost shy demeanor, but it is what it is. So what happens next? What happens next? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, but that's what happens to the sponsors. That's my question. And that's why you got to be wary of when you sponsor people because you never know when true or false something like this comes out. And look at Jared from Subway. Subway's stocks dipped. Now, Subway didn't sponsor Jared and say, hey, you know what? We want to sponsor a pedophile. No, man. They sponsored a fat guy who got lean eating 6-inch subs. That's it. And in turn, they took a hit to their brand that I don't even know if they've recovered from still. Something to think about. Build the product. Have people support it, but never build a product around a person. That's dangerous. And if you have a chance, there's a book I'd like to recommend. It's called Built to Last. I believe Jim Collins is the author. That'll kind of explain my thought process. And while, you look at our bar, like the Outright bar, like you don't see me on there. Like MTS is a little too connected to me than I like, but like the Outright bar, people buying those at convenience stores and gas stations around the country, they don't know it's me. I'm building brands, but I'm out there supporting it as a person. But the brand is not me. Nobody, like the Outright bar stands on its own. It's not like, and if you go to our booth at the Olympia for the Outright bar, you're just going to see a delicious bar. We're going to be sampling them out at the Olympia, by the way, like we did at the Arnold. But, that's why I think, what are your thoughts? What do you think should happen to Olymp and all the other brands? Comment down below. That's not a game.